Hi everyone, I'm Simon Segars, CEO of ARM. At ARM, we're very aware that the technology we create today will have far-reaching effects long into the future. And so a few years ago, we developed a program called GenArm to Z, so that our thinking can be inspired and influenced by the next generation who will be living in an age where AI will be a pervasive technology. Our Gen to Z ambassadors are an extraordinary group, CEOs of their own companies and tech leaders in their own right. As digital natives, they wield the power of technology to teach others and affect change. They also have an advanced understanding of how AI shapes their digital world. And today, we'll hear what they love about AI, what worries them about it, and what they want to see in the next generation of AI-powered products. So let's meet the team. Hi, everyone. Really pleased you could be with us today. Thanks so much again. Can I ask you all to do quick introductions? Introduce yourself, and we'll start with Emma.
Sure. Hi, my name is Emma Yang. I'm 17 years old, and I'm the founder of Timeless, which uses artificial intelligence and facial recognition technology to help empower Alzheimer's patients, their caregivers, and their loved ones to cope with the illness and to live their daily lives.
That's excellent. Thanks, Emma. Over to you, Avye.
Hi, I'm Avye and I'm 13 and I'm the founder of Girls into Coding, and my aim is to try and involve as many girls as possible with physical computing, coding, 3D printing and robotics-based workshops. So I'm always working on projects to do with Girls into Coding, and I'm actually working on a project to do with AI using artificial intelligence and to do with the environment as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Avye. And Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm 16 years old, and I'm the creator of VeggieBots, which is a drag and drop tool for creating Python programs. And it allows kids to learn text-based programming easier than they would without it. So yeah, that's kind of my mission, to get more kids into coding and help teachers along the way to deliver the computing curriculum here in the UK.
Great, and that's a subject we're going to come back to. Last but not least, Samaira.
Hi, my name is Samaira. I'm 13 years old, and I have created an ecosystem of coding and artificial intelligence tools towards my project, Yes, 1 billion kids can code. My big goal is to help 1 billion kids in the world gain access to coding, AI, and STEM tools. And I'm also really passionate about gender equality in tech fields and entrepreneurship education.
That's excellent. I love your ambition to get so many people introduced into coding, and for all of you likewise. So let's start with the first question for you all. So conferences like this are full of people like me talking about AI and future technologies, but how do you think that Gen Z's impression of AI differs from older generations? And perhaps we can start with you, Emma.
Sure. I think the most significant part of Gen Z's perception of AI is the way that it's influencing the way we get information. A lot of us grew up, since a young age, 13, 14 years old, on Twitter, Instagram, maybe even Facebook, learning about the world around us, from the news to culture. And all of that is shaped by AI and algorithms that are feeding us that content and, showing us what they believe, will, engage us and will interest us and keep us coming back to that. And I think that, my generation is becoming increasingly aware of how their perception of the world is being shaped by AI and searching for different ways of finding objectivity and, facts and information that they know aren't influenced by, external opinions and factors like that, and in a world where AI is shaping so much of what we're seeing.
Indeed. It is amazing just how AI has kind of taken over social media and can really push information to you that maybe you weren't in fact looking for. So Samaira, what do you think about all of that?
I really think, Gen Z is definitely one of the most tech-savvy generations. We grew up with artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence tools right at our fingertips, whether it's asking Alexa or Google Home a question, or really getting personalized music or shows from platforms like Spotify or Netflix, or even just refrigerators with touch screens. I think Gen Z's perception of AI and technology is much different than previous generations. I think we understand artificial intelligence. We know that we use it in tons of things on a daily basis. I can give you just one very simple example. With my latest initiative, Boss Biz Entrepreneurship Academy, a program that I started with the goal of sharing my entrepreneurial skills and helping others create their own business and then, sort of pitch it at the end. And I've done, multiple events with Boss Biz, but I think one of the things that I've noticed is it's very hard to calculate the amount of people I'll have by the end, pitching their idea. So what I did was I created a very simple machine learning algorithm that uses the amount of registrations, calculates factors like how many people will drop out, how many people will join, and by the end sort of gives me a rough idea of how many people will be pitching their idea at the end. And this really helps me in things like scheduling, the pitching days. And although this is a very, very small situation, I just think the fact that we have the mindset to use AI and AI algorithms in very small things is actually a very big thing. And it's a precursor to show how embedded AI is in day-to-day things, from small things to big things, like, really just saving lives. There's cancer tests that use neural networks to look at images of cells and decide whether there's a risk of cancer. And there's AI technology used in things like technological advancements, like self-driving cars or preventing bank frauds. So I think, AI is really developing in our world of today. And I think Gen Z really understands it, and we want to use it in everything that we create.
It's, you raised some really interesting points there. It is quite extraordinary just how widely AI is already being used today. I mean, pretty much anyone who uses a smartphone to take a picture is having the image enhanced by AI. You mentioned voice assistants. These technologies are going everywhere, but also there's so much more that can be done. And some of the examples you gave there are really fascinating. How they're kind of small things. They're not kind of self-driving cars, flying cars. They're just ways of making things much more efficient. And I think we'll see a lot more of that. Now, Emma touched on how AI is being used in social media to kind of serve up content. Is that something that worries you all? I mean, I'll be interested in your view on this. Do you worry about how AI is influencing content that's delivered to you and maybe influencing thought?
Well, I actually think that at the moment it's not as bad as it can be, but as it progresses into the future, I think that as AI grows, there's always going to be more faults in it. And I think that's an area in the future that I think people are going to start worrying about. But in terms of at the moment, I think AI has proven to be really useful. And I think Samaira touched up a bit on, for example, if you're watching a Netflix movie, it gives you a recommendation, the same as Spotify, the same with Amazon. So I think that at the moment, artificial intelligence is proved to be really useful in our day-to-day lives. But I definitely think that in the future, as it grows, as there's more you can do, there's always going to be more consequences and more things that could go wrong with that.
Right. And how about you, Josh? I know this is an area you've been thinking about.
Yeah, so AI is, kind of blended into our life now with, like home automation, voice assistants and things like that, and, image enhancing on phones. But I think that, AI is becoming much more accessible. It's not just something that, big tech corporations have access to. You only have to go onto the App Store to download an app to be able to do stuff with AI. One example is that, you can use AI as something that's really accessible now that can be used to do bad with AI. You can just download an app and you can take a picture of someone and make them say something that they didn't say, and it's sort of becoming believable. So there are different things that kind of we have to watch out for, and we have to pay more attention to content that's online, just because AI is much more accessible to everyone now, and it's not just something that's out of reach.
Now, when I was at school, learning about computer science was a new thing, and schools were struggling to get access to the technology and to have teachers that understood enough about it to be able to teach the next generation. Do you think we're in the same position here with AI? And do you think that AI should be taught more in schools? Avye, I know you've been working a lot on trying to help people understand and learn about technology. What do you think about this? Do you think AI should become part of the curriculum in schools?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's important for people at a young age to be able to learn about artificial intelligence and everything that comes with it from a young age, because artificial intelligence is everywhere. And if you learn about it when you're younger and in the future when you have a job, it doesn't have to be like necessarily to do with technology, because you'll find that every single job that you'll do involves technology will probably involve AI in some sort of way. And having that experience from when you're younger is definitely going to help you with your job, or to just be able to understand kind of the world that we're living in. And I think that's really important to be aware of artificial intelligence and its capabilities.
And Samaira, I know this is something that you're very passionate about. Tell us a bit about the way in which you're trying to take these technologies and make them fun to learn through games.
Yeah, I think first of all, I really do believe that AI should be taught in schools, and I think this because of one main reason. I think learning AI gives you the skills to become a change maker, become somebody who will build the solutions. I think already many people are using artificial intelligence to solve problems, like cure diseases that were once considered incurable, revolutionize fields like education, agriculture, and many others. But I truly believe that there still remain millions of problems in the world. And if we want to get anywhere close to solving them, we need more individuals in the field of artificial intelligence. I think, artificial intelligence, AI, it's all shaping the world, but the upcoming generation, Gen Z, we need to shape AI. And I think the only way we can shape AI is if we know about it, if we know how it works, what's involved in it, especially from a very young age. And what my creation, Coder Minds, does is it simplifies learning AI. It is the only board game in the world that teaches the concepts of artificial intelligence. And I believe that we need more fun, more affordable, and accessible ways to learn artificial intelligence. And I think that my creation, Coder Minds, is actually one of the best tools to help others learn about AI and become the innovators who will develop the solutions of tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the maths that sits behind AI is pretty heavy. So making it fun to learn is definitely a good thing to encourage people to get a better understanding. Josh, what do you think about this and the role of teaching in schools around AI?
Yeah, so I think there's two main points of I think we should teach about the basics of what AI is, and especially the impacts of what AI is as well. As our generation will become working in the workplace. AI is going to have a big impact on all of the jobs that we do. So I think starting in schools and teaching kids this is what AI is, but this is the impacts that it can have. But also show some examples of what AI can be used for, because some people might just not even notice. We're using AI each day, and it kind of just blends into society, and we don't even think about it. But there's also some really great tools that I've used before. One of them was machine learning for kids, which kind of brings machine learning and AI down to a level that kids can understand. They can actually do some machine learning coding and create their own artificial intelligence models. So I think tools like that can be integrated into the computer science curriculum to allow kids to actually get hands-on with AI and making their own AI programs could have a big impact as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's bringing it to life. Again, the kind of science behind it is pretty heavy, but people really learn through experience, and so those hands-on labs that you mentioned really important. I know that was definitely influential for me when I was at school. Using the technology, doing something with it, seeing some output, as opposed to just learning the theory behind it. So I think you make a really important point there. Now, AI has some really quite far-reaching implications as it becomes a part of our daily lives. So on that, and linked actually back to the education point, how do you feel about what we must do to make sure that AI is much more of an inclusive technology than perhaps some of the technologies that have come before? And Emma, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. I mean, I think I'm coming at this from an interesting angle because, I'm a founder of a company that uses, image-based, AI-based technologies to help an underserved population, namely Alzheimer's patients and the elderly at large. We think of technology being super ubiquitous. It impacts every part of our lives, and whatever problem we can think of, we can solve with technology. And that absolutely extends to AI. But I think that there are still these blind spots, these underserved populations that haven't been touched by technology in the way that the average person has. And I think that it's really important for us to include those voices in the technology industry, not just young people, but also the elderly and the Asian populations and people across, different genders, different, backgrounds and cultural backgrounds. I think it's really important for us to be diversifying the leadership of technology and diversifying who's influencing, how technologies are creating solutions and serving their target audiences.
Excellent. And Avye, what do you think about that?
Well, AI relies on feeding the computers with lots of different data, which they classify. And if that data is somehow skewed or biased, then the predictions that the computers are going to make is also going to be skewed and biased. And I think that a big concern for some people is facial recognition technology being used to monitor and track them by the biometric data. And I think that and I know what's happened is protests and riots in Hong Kong have highlighted people rejecting this vision of how technology should be used. And I think it's important to be able to hear what people have to say about that. And AI, like all technologies, is going to carry out risks, and if it's not managed or applied in an ethical way, there's going to be a problem. So that always has to be applied. But technology, however, can be a driver for inclusivity. For example, during the pandemic, I've been able to use the available technologies to be able to run virtual girls into coding events, where I've been able to send out kits to the girls, and we've been able to code and make the robot along together via Zoom, which just goes to show how technology can still impact your life in a good way.
Absolutely. And Josh, what do you think about all of that?
Yeah, I think, AI is something that, is already affecting all of us and something that we all use already. So I think it is really important that, everyone gets involved and everyone kind of shares their ideas and shares their own opinions on it. Because obviously, it's a very controversial topic in, that some of the things that AI can be used for. We just highlighted some of the examples to do with privacy, some of the examples to do with how it can be used to do bad. So yeah, I think it is really important that AI is a topic that everyone starts talking about and everyone kind of learns the real meaning of it, because it is something that is only affecting our lives in small ways now. When you think about what could happen in the future and where it can go. But in terms of technology in general, over the pandemic, we've seen everything move online and everyone kind of get involved with using technology. Some examples are, like elderly people are using technology to connect with their families because it's not safe for them to go and see them. And events like this, where, everyone would have to travel to one destination, we're all online today and, communicating with each other, which isn't the same as in person. But I think technology has really, come a long way in the past year in how everyone uses it and how everyone connects with it in their everyday lives.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this last year really has demonstrated more than ever before just how dependent we are on technology in our daily lives, what it can do for us. But at the same time, how, as we develop new technologies, especially AI, we've got to do it in an ethical way. We've got to develop ethical frameworks so that society can really benefit to the maximum from what is to come. So we are almost at time. So I want to just end with a kind of quick fire round, and I'd love to hear from you guys what you want to see in the next generation of AI-based products and how you think that AI can best influence society in the future. So we'll go across you all, just quick fire answers to those questions, and start with Samaira.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to AI impacting all sorts of fields, whether it's education, better quality education, more accessible education for low-income families or communities. I'm looking forward to the advancements in medicine and health, saving lives, doing surgeries with better outcomes, or, whether it's agriculture and in farming. I'm really just looking forward to everything that is to come.
That's excellent. So Avye, over to you.
I definitely would like to see AI allowing things such as education resources to be more accessible to people all over the world, as I think it's important for everyone, not just a specific type of person, to be able to access that sort of technology.
Thanks, Avye. And Josh?
Yeah, I think that it's exciting to see what AI can do in terms of education as well. One of the big problems that we've had over the past year is access to exams. So how we can think about how we can use AI to be able to take exams in the same way online as we did in person. But also things like, AR glasses to be able to better connect with technology and use it in our everyday lives to enhance our lives in society as well.
Great. Wasn't expecting to hear you say you're looking forward to taking an exam, but absolutely understand the point there. And last but not least, Emma.
Completely agree with everything that's been said here. And I think, I would really love to see AI being applied and, researched and expanded, not in the places that it's already growing, in the fields that it's already existing, but also in those that haven't had a chance to start yet and, haven't had a chance to grow. And so really looking at more inclusive AI, not just more ethical AI, but also more equitable AI, especially with the inequities that have been revealed by the pandemic and this past year.
Great. Thanks a lot. Well, we are at time. I just want to thank you all for joining this panel today. It's been fantastic to hear your insights. Whenever I spend time with any of you, I'm kind of blown away by your achievements and left thinking, what have I been doing with my life? I think you all have a fantastic future ahead and really appreciate your input to helping influence what we do in this next generation of technology. And for everybody watching, I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's been insightful. Thanks very much.